Today, we're going to do a panel that is actually our second attempt. We tried this topic last year, and it was so difficult to drill down on it that we wanted to cover this subject again. So we're talking about how to convert tweets to bucks, how to convert social media followers into customers. How do you get people who like you on Facebook to buy stuff from you, or who follow you on Twitter, or that kind of thing? So it's a real conundrum, and I think everybody in the industry is struggling with it in one way or another. So we have a great panel that we have put together for you, for people, which includes people who actually are deeply engaged in this kind of stuff. So we have Julie Greenhouse from Wayin, Alex B. from Voodoo Ventures, and McKenzie Coco from FSC Interactive. And I'd like to get things started by just asking each of you for just taking 2 minutes each or something like that, a little bit about yourselves, what your company does, and then just kind of riff for a second on what this topic means to you, because I think everybody approaches this topic in a slightly different way, which is part of why we want to kick it around. So Julie, why don't you start and just tell us about Wayin, what it does and what you do there, and then just what does converting social media to customers mean to you?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for getting up early today. I appreciate everyone being here and having us. So I've been in the online advertising space for the past 20 years. I've been in the social space for the past 4 years. I've only been at Wayin since January. But Wayin is a social technology platform that helps marketers aggregate social content, curate it, and then utilize it for your own purposes, whether it's to engage with fans, whether it's to drive sales, whether it's to use our analytics platform to identify what audience that you're trying to go after, find the most engaged people about a specific topic, find the most influential, meaning they have the most fans on Facebook or they have the most Twitter followers. To me, I ended up here. It was a very calculated move in that the last company that I was with, we used social to target ads against. And in the end, all that did was drive Twitter followers, Facebook likes. But at the end of the day, marketers then realized, what do I do with all these fans and followers that I've collected? We did something for Wendy's. We generated 40,000 Twitter followers. So what Wayin does and what many companies can help do are really take it a step further and create engaging experiences using social media to market and turn those people into customers. And we'll dive more into how we do that. But
thanks. Alex, you want to talk a little bit about what Voodoo Ventures does and what you do there?
Sure, no problem. Morning, everyone. So I work for Voodoo Ventures. It's a small venture capital firm here in New Orleans. And instead of just throwing money at a bunch of different startups, we have about 3 or 4 in-house at a time, and I do all the marketing for them. And that's everything from email campaigns to social media campaigns to data and analytics. Now, to me, what it means to turn someone from a social media follower into a customer is to actually have them pay for your product. I guess I can go into it a little bit deeper a little later when we get into tactics, but yeah.
Great, thanks. McKenzie?
Hi, I'm McKenzie Coco with FSC Interactive, and everyone asks FSC, Focused Smart Communications, and we are an online digital firm here in New Orleans, and we manage social media accounts for clients. We handle New Orleans tourism, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Hotel Monteleone, Loyola. We're the voice of them online, and we do search marketing as well. So from converting social media into a customer, that's something that all of my clients ask and struggle with regularly, of how to actually monetize that, how to track that, how to put analytics behind that. And I think part of that is creating engaging content and engaging conversations with them and some type of a tracking mechanism to determine how that does either generate money or how that generates them coming and signing up to your email database. There's a lot of different ways you can put metrics behind that to actually call it a conversion, and I'll talk about what we do that specifically for New Orleans tourism. But I think it's very important to remember, that just because you have a community of 300,000 people, how are you making sure that those 300,000 people are engaged with you and either going to purchase from you or somehow become a brand evangelist, or what are they going to do for you?
Great. Well, thanks. Okay. How about a couple of examples in which social interaction has converted into a sale of one kind or another? Could you each just give an example? Julie, you look like you're raring to go.
Sure. It's not a music example, but we did something for, so basically just to give you guys background, Wayin has access to the entire Twitter fire hose. That's a really unique relationship. Many people have access, any company can access Twitter's feed through an API, but there are only a few companies that actually have the entire fire hose.
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so that means we see literally every tweet that's out there. We have access to dissect and look for specific users, specific topics.
You sound like the NSA.
We're really all about the data and being able to comb through that data and identify what makes most sense. Because if you think about it, there's so much going on Twitter. And if you think about using Twitter as a consumer, like if I don't log on every single day, I miss out on so much. So our platform allows you to kind of sort through that, find the right content going back. Historically, there was a company that did this also called Topsy, which you guys might know. They're acquired by Apple. But it's really about, number one, having access to the data, and then number two, being able to search through it, comb through it, identify what you're looking for. So we worked with a leading big box retailer. I'm not supposed to say who they are, I guess, for publicity. We don't have their permission. But we basically saw what they were selling in their stores and what they were selling on their website. And what we did was we created, in real time, a buying guide for them that pulled in what topics were being most talked about on Twitter, so that in the holiday season they could identify socially what are people buying. It's not just about or what people are talking about. It's not just about selling this and that. It's about taking real-time data from consumers and then surfacing that, because that changes on a daily basis. Like today, yesterday the Chromecast was hot. Today the Amazon, Fire is hot. It really, I guess it's the Kindle. Yeah, no, I guess that. So, but it really changes. And if you take advantage of social data to surface that, when we created that page, basically we had a 24% engagement rate, meaning 24% of people actually clicked into a product. We don't have the purchase data behind, but they basically renewed for Valentine's Day, so we know it did extremely well for them.
So does that take the shape of like a sponsored ad?
So it wasn't an ad,
no.
So it was something that basically lived on their site. And after these guys go, if we want, we can walk through another example of that Access TV. It's just content on their site, and that's what, if you think about, social is content. Social is content in the quickest way possible. It doesn't require editors. It's taking advantage of what people are saying. That's often, experts in a specific topic, music experts, product experts. So we basically created that content, lived on their site. It was up to them if they were going to drive traffic to it, and that would be through advertising. But it's really about utilizing social on their...
So how do you know whether a social media posting is directly responsible for converting into a sale on the client's website? Let's say, I think I understand sort of what you're talking about. So if it's a holiday season and the client is a retailer, and on social media they're saying, oh, at Walmart they're selling turkey basters for half off, and how do you know that that post actually converts into the sale of the turkey baster?
McKenzie says she has an example that she wants to follow up with.
Great, I could use one because I'm totally lost.
Okay, so for us, we work, for example, with Hotel Monteleone, and we also work with New Orleans Tourism that has a hotel booking engine on their website. So for all of the content that we're putting out there, we use Hootsuite, which is a monitoring platform. So we look at the content on Twitter and we engage in conversations. If people are looking for a hotel or they're wondering where to go on vacation, we can say, hey, come try New Orleans, and we can put a link to the booking engine, for example, for Hotel Monteleone, or on the New Orleans website, Visit New Orleans website. So if they come in and click on that link, first of all, it's a unique link because they're all tracked in social media. You can sign up for something called Bitly. So that individual little link You know how many people clicked on it and what they did. And if that link goes into your booking engine, for example, for Hotel Monteleone, then they actually turn into a hotel booking. They book 3 nights at, let's say, $200 a night, $600 value. There's conversion tracking and code that you can put on the back end of your website that will let you know by source what conversions came from where. So not only do you know that they clicked on that link, but then once they come into it, and this platform called Google Analytics, which if you don't have that or not familiar with that, get yourself familiar with it because it's completely free. And it starts spewing all of this data back to you. So what was the actual referring website? Okay, it was Facebook. You know that it came in on that little bit.ly link that you put that had your hotel rates or specials as it related to Jazz Fest or whatever it was. And then the data comes into Google Analytics and it says this booking for May 1st through 5th came from Facebook and the value of it was $600. So for every single post that we're putting, they have individual links, and we have put code on the back end of the websites to say, was it from an ad we ran on Facebook? Was it from a post that we put on Facebook? Was it an ad we ran on Google? Was it an organic link? Every single source that converts into something, if it's an e-commerce website, you can track what the source of that was. And if you have an individual unique link that you used only for that particular post, you can say, I know it was this post, I know it came into this website, and I know that it created this amount of revenue.
I was going to say, in that example, you know, just to marry the two. So we're talking about I was talking about an experience where you use social content to create a more engaging experience, but then there's also, you know, use tools to identify who do you want to drive to that content. And just like McKenzie said, like, you can identify, you know, whether it's through our platform or other platforms, or I think even probably through Twitter's business ad platform, or even just through Twitter. I mean, you can identify people that are talking about relevant, you know, relevant bands or a specific band that you might be trying to sell tickets to. You should market to them by, you know, identifying who your super fans are and then tracking it, just as McKenzie said. Like, you could send them a message through Twitter, give them a special offer, you know, say, thanks for being such an awesome fan, come visit our fan page. But then, you know, it's extremely important, as McKenzie said, put in that bit.ly link so that you understand, wow, you know, did I actually convert that person? Should I be going after the most engaged people on Twitter? Should I be going after the people with the most followers about a specific topic?
So when you're talking about super fans, you're talking about people who are constantly posting and people who are mentioning you and your band or your product or your service. So if you have somebody that's following you and they love your stuff, and one thing that comes to mind is we had a speaker here last year, a singer named Terry McDermott, and he's on Twitter, but more of the Twitter posts about him come from some of these super fans that are constantly talking about him and what he's doing, and I have no idea whether they're related or it's his girlfriend or I don't know, but they're constantly talking about him and his stuff. So that would be an example of somebody that you might go, or a musician might go after and say, okay, look, I know you're my cousin, but can you post this link in your post, because that's going to lead to the page where people can buy tickets to my show at the Howlin' Wolf.
I can actually speak to that one.
Please, go
pretty
for
well. Do y'all use Eventbrite? Can I just see, like, raise your hand if y'all use Eventbrite?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Wow, this is actually perfect then. So I've been doing marketing for, I guess, an Eventbrite event, obviously, that we're doing next week. It's called Launchfest. It'll be here. But the beautiful thing about Eventbrite is you can make these tracking links in Eventbrite. You can create your own link, and basically every time you tweet it and someone goes from, say, Twitter or Facebook, it doesn't really matter, but every time they go from there to Eventbrite, you'll get, you know, +1 and your ticker on the Eventbrite page that, of course, only you can see. And then if they purchase a ticket, you'll be able to see that. So this is a kind of a very condensed, simplified form of, I think, what these two have been explaining very, very thoroughly. So I guess go into Eventbrite, look for tracking links, and then tweet those out, and then you can actually see how many people click through on those links.
All right, now since you brought that up, I was going to save this for a little bit later, because this is my one and only hardball question. I sent you all an email with some notes about a conversation that I had with somebody who lives here in New Orleans who has a concert production, they're concert promoters, and they also manage a large festival. that does about $2 million, a little over $2 million in gross box office receipts. The total tickets sold is about $2 million. And I'm not going to say who it is, but I was asking about this particular thing, and he said they don't use Eventbrite, but they use a different online ticketing platform. I think maybe they use one called Ticketfly. And the platform has an option to embed social marketing in your sales, to do what's called a social ticketing embed. And so you set up your event on Ticketfly or Eventbrite, and do you want to promote this via Facebook and Twitter? Click yes, okay, boom, it goes out on the social media platform, and all of the people who have liked or friended or followed that event get a social media message that says, hey, tickets are now on sale, buy your tickets, right? Sounds perfectly like genius, it can't fail. And as I said to you all, well, he told me that less than 2% of their total sales actually come through that mechanism. Yep. Out of $2 million in tickets, only 33,000 come through this social ticketing platform, which leads my friend to think the social ticketing thing is not really where our money is. It's not actually working. And they're obviously selling tickets. They're figuring out a way to reach their audience. But he has come to the conclusion that people, for one reason or another, are averse to buying tickets on a social media platform. They go there for something other than engaging in a commercial transaction. And getting an ad for or not an ad, but a prompt to buy something on their Facebook or Twitter kind of turns them off, and they don't want to go there. They do want to go to the festival, but they'll go to the festival's website to do that, not Facebook. Any thoughts?
I mean, you know, being a huge concert goer and social media person, so I see both of them. I mean, I wouldn't buy tickets on a social platform. I think. So
the answer to our question is no. It doesn't work.
I think social, I think there are two ways to think about it. I think you should be using social to sell tickets, but that's the whole point, is like, don't reinvent the wheel. And that's what I was saying before. It's like, we don't have to market to people on someone else's platform. Let's market to them and bring them to the experience that they're used to, which is to buy the tickets on Ticketfly. You know, my feeling is if they then potentially had something that said, you know, instead of, I never want to post, it's no one's business, like, to my entire Facebook audience or my Twitter followers that I'm going to a specific event. That's, to me, too intrusive.
That's a message to all your stalkers.
Yeah, that's a message like it's, yeah, right. So, but what they could do, there are ways to do it better, I would think, if they said, I've bought tickets to this event, I want to invite 7 of my friends and potentially for like 2 hours hold, obviously if it's a hot event, this isn't possible, but I want to hold 8 tickets potentially for my friends, and it lets me send an email and it says, I bought tickets to this, you know, we're holding tickets for 1 hour or 15 minutes so that you can sit with me. That's a different way to think about it. But if it's just to alert all your friends and then buy it on, you know, Facebook's platform, it's not going to work. But what you should be doing instead, I think, is identifying through social who are the people that you want to buy those tickets, and then speaking directly to them and in the way that they're used to. You know, give them the link directly to Ticketfly with the bit.ly tracking. But I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel of how people buy tickets.
2 things about that. And you said something. You said, yes, they had $2 million in sales. They only made 33,000. They heard about it on social, but then they went direct to the website to buy.
Exactly.
Social is PR. And in PR, it is awareness. You know, I don't care where they buy the ticket. I just want them to buy a ticket. I don't care where they buy the album. I just want them to buy the album. I want them to download it if it's on iTunes. I don't care. I just want the sale to come in from somewhere. And I think that's something important to remember about that this is about conversations and engaging people to love your brand, love your music, love who you are, and then convert. But it doesn't really matter where they convert as long as they convert, first of all. Second of all, on social, if you're trying to do something, I agree it's not really a salesy platform, and I think that can come across as spammy if you're trying to like constantly sell in social channels. But if you do have a fan base on Twitter or on Facebook, you can create exclusives to those particular members and fans, so that if they are a fan of the page, they get an exclusive offer. So it's something they can only get through those social channels. And it's something that if you're putting out a particular code, maybe it's a discount, maybe it's free song download, whatever that is, unless they are engaged in that community and they know it, then they don't get that. And so if you can create exclusives or something that makes them feel like they're in the know, or the fan club or something very special about that, that can create a much larger and engaging following.
Well, that kind of gets to a point that I always think of when this topic comes up. We were talking about this at last year's conference, and if I remember correctly, it's one of the folks actually who's going to be moderating our website demolition derby later on this morning, David Dufresne from Bandzoogle, when this topic came up. And my takeaway from last year's conversation was, to get people to buy something from you, whether it's a concert ticket, a copy of an album, or whatever it is that you're trying to sell, they're never going to buy it from you if they feel like a stranger. They're only going to buy it from you if they feel like they have a relationship with you. And your job using social media is to continually, as you said, engage. Continue that conversation, keep it going over and over and over. Like in fundraising, for professional fundraising people, they have the rule of the 7 touches. Never ask for money until you've touched them at least 7 times. And I think the parallel for us is, until you've gotten them to think about you, to know about you, to care about you, hopefully they know the date of your birthday, they know the name of your children, they have some sort of emotional investment in you, and then when they feel good about you, when you come up and say, by the way, I'm going to be in Seattle, everybody in Seattle buy a ticket to the concert, that's how you can then convert. You're nodding your heads like you think that?
I absolutely agree. I think, ideally it should come from the artists themselves, if they actively are engaging in social media and, inviting their fans to their concerts, responding, because they're setting up a fan page on Facebook, but not only setting up the fan page, whether it's the artist or, the manager or the promoter that's actually engaging with that community, it's identifying, in that community, these are your super fans, give them a chance to buy tickets before everyone else. I think of, Thievery, who's, playing here on Saturday, next Saturday. They always do a pre-sale for their fan base, and that's a huge band. It's obviously not the members of Thievery, I don't think, that are managing their Facebook page, but at least they realize, these are our super fans. We want them to have a chance to buy tickets in advance. And then what happens is, you should then give your super fans the sharing tools to bring people back into that fan club. And
do they get a reward if they do that?
Well, I think in that instance, the reward is the ability to buy the tickets early and get those tickets. I think in other cases, there should be rewards. I think, you should...
Like a meet and greet with the band?
Meet and greet with the band,
coupon
download
for a free
CD,
beer or something?
Yeah, something. I think, but use the tools, because there are tools to identify who are your most engaged fans. Not only who are your most engaged fans, who are your fans that have the most followers and have the most influence. And then even if, take it a step further, just directly communicate with them. I think if you can have your artists, you obviously can't, if they're not interested in social media, they're not going to do it. But if they are, have them talk directly to these people, because it's going to go so far. I think of, Billy Ayuso, I feel like does a great job in social media. I'm always getting invited to his events. He's always on Facebook, and truthfully, I've gone to probably more of his stuff as a fan, just because it's that personal connection.
Actually, Billy is a great example of what we're talking about. Yeah. I don't know if any of you are familiar with, he's a New Orleans-based guitar player and singer named Billy Ayuso, and he's very active on Facebook. Yep. And he's an interesting case of somebody who does not make a distinction between his personal Facebook presence and his professional Facebook. Like me personally, I have my personal Facebook page, which is for my friends and family. Right. And I try to only put like my own personal stuff up there, and stuff that's for work. We have work accounts for all that. I try to have a firewall. Yep. He's the opposite. Yep. It's all mixed in there. It's his wife, it's his kids, he just bought a new couch. Right. He also just bought a new guitar. Oh, and by the way, I'm playing in Miami on Thursday, so everybody come out and see me. So he's like engaging in that personal connection with people out in the open.
And that to me, I feel like that drives sales. That if you feel like you're a friend of his, and then you're going to his concert, and then it's like you invite your friends, I really believe that drives sales. I think of Big Sam. It's the same thing. He does such a good job on Twitter. Number one, he promotes it at all of his shows. He's so active on Twitter. He's, crazy on Twitter. But he also belongs to, the Jazz Fest Funk fan group. He belongs to, Threadheads. He belongs to every single community within Facebook that he can then use to market his new CD, Evolution, that just dropped, but he's not doing it in a, it is in a selling way, because he is trying, but guess what? Like, all these people are the people that love Big Sam because they love New Orleans, they love funk, and he knows where to speak to those people, and he's part of that community in an active way.
I can speak to this. So when by the way, when she says actively engage, that means just ask questions. I can't tell you. That's how every conversation I start goes. What's up? How are you? What's going on? You could literally post that to your Facebook page, and whoever really likes your band or your music would probably be like, oh, I'm good. Thanks for checking in on me. It's kind of funny because it's very simple. But it's something that, when you're thinking, oh, I have to push this, like social media campaign and this marketing that oh, I need to check myself and see how things are going. So a good strategy for that is come up with 5 questions. Say, say, hey, this is my most liked song on SoundCloud. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? And just let people get involved with your music and what you do. And this is, to me, you're literally kind of baiting them to get engaged with you.
So this is a really important point. So your advice is, don't make a statement that will just sit there on its own. Ask a question that invites people to respond.
Absolutely.
And that is that engaging two-way dialogue which helps to develop the relationship, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that and I love it when I like this really super hipstery DJ. His name's Route 94. He's awesome. Anyways, he'll ask questions, and I love it because all of a sudden I feel empowered and like I'm a part of his music, and it's nice. It feels good. So and the way I also DJ. I view my job as make everybody else happy. As a musician, I think that's what a lot of us want to do. So give your followers the opportunity to feel good again.
Now, Alex, can you talk a little bit about what you do in your day job as far as social media and converting fans? Because I think one of the things that you do as part of your professional life is actually quite different from what other folks do. And I don't understand it entirely, so I'd love it if you could explain it a little bit.
What do you mean?
Well, you said something in an email before the conference about how you basically stalk people on Twitter and then call them on the phone.
Cool. Yeah.
I was like, okay, that works.
So I gave you guys, I guess, the more generic version of what I do, just trying to be helpful and say, hey, ask some questions. The beautiful thing is like these two have said before, you can use tools to find who tweets at you, who are your super fans, right? Well, if you ask them a question, what did you really, I noticed you tweeted about the song 4 times, or it could even be once. Who cares? But say what did you like about it? And then say, oh, that's really interesting. Do you want to come backstage when I go to name your city, or do you want to do this or that? And that's a way to, actually for business, I'll bait people with a question, and then they'll respond, and I'll say, oh, that's so interesting. Our CEO would love to chat about that. And they're like, oh my gosh, someone wants to talk to me off of Twitter? This is really happening? And it's great. I think I got 40 conversations last quarter, and 3 of them started using our product. So it's not the best return, but it's really interesting to see how many people you can get on the phone,
So, but wait,
Sorry.
I just want to understand that a little bit better, because it's kind of blowing my mind. So, you'll send out a message on Twitter.
Okay.
Somebody replies, and you're like, "Hey, can we get on the phone?" And then it's what are you wearing?
I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Honestly, why I think this is funny is because I didn't hear the last thing that he said, so I don't really know what's happening. But I'll go with it. All right. First step is, 1, be a human. right? And two, find out who cares about your product. A great way to find out who cares about your product, and if you're a musician, your product is your music, or your product is the event. A great way to find out who cares about that are finding hashtags.
We happen to have one handily posted up here for those of you who are tweeting.
Hashtag SyncUpNola. Sorry, wait. Hashtag SyncUpNola. Is that the cool? Whatever. Anyways, Julie mentioned before that the beauty of social media is you can identify your target audience in the blink of an eye. Meaning, if you find a certain hashtag, so think about the music that you produce, right, or the music you create, and find 3 similar groups or bands. I guarantee you they have hashtag band name. Follow those hashtags, or just type in hashtag band name on Twitter, and you'll see who's tweeted about them. Those are people who like the kind of music that you make. That took 4 seconds. And all you have to do is click on their Twitter, read their bio, and find out, like, hey, how many followers do they have? Are they active? Are they someone who's an evangelist for this group or band? And then, if they seem like a good fit, ask them a question and say, oh, that's really cool. Do you want to promote? Is this better laid out than I had it before?
No, it's all
sorry.
been good.
Okay.
It's so interesting to me. I just wanted you to elaborate
cool.
a little
Sorry.
bit more. So, but you will then actually send them like a direct tweet?
Absolutely.
And so to
Absolutely.
one individual, you'll target one. So
of
this is hardcore market research.
Yeah.
Going through the entire universe of Twitter to find one person that you think could be an evangelist for you, and then making a direct personal.
Yeah.
By a show of hands, has anybody here done that type of research where they've actually gone down to the individual person level to make a direct connection?
Okay.
All right.
I've got an intermediary
few.
step that can hopefully help you. And this is, I guess, another example of hopefully a success. One of my best friends is a graffiti artist, or is a graffiti artist. So I search the hashtag art blogs, right? Because, well, what do blogs do? They produce content. And what do art blogs want to write about? Well, art. What does Stuart, my best friend, make? Art. So, you find people who blog about something that, you care about, or, that's going to sell your product. And I think we got, like, 3 or 4 art blogs to post articles about him, to interview him. And this is not going down to the individual, or I guess it is an individual level, but it also kind of permeates your content and yourself as an artist into other people's lives, because other people read blogs, and they're a very, very useful tool. So, and there are a ton of music blogs out there. There are too many music blogs. It's kind of ridiculous. So, yeah.
Awesome.
I was just going to say one. Oh, sorry.
So one thing, just to keep in mind, that with Twitter, they don't have to be connected with you to see your content or for you to see their content. So when she's talking about this fire hose and this monitoring and these hashtags and keywords, anything that relates to the type of music, again, you could pick 3 band names, anything that relates to you, you can do searches and find this content and start talking and connecting with them. We do this regularly for New Orleans tourism. Anyone that is talking on Twitter about New Orleans, we have a constant news stream that is in one of our account executives on her computer all day long. And people are saying to friends, to the entire Twittersphere, where should I go to dinner in New Orleans? Or I'm thinking about going to New Orleans, is it family friendly? All these conversations that are happening about New Orleans, they are not connected yet with us, yet being the key word. And we identify these conversations, we engage with them, and then they become part of our community. And so we reach out to them, ask them questions, try to offer advice, try to be helpful for them.
Individually.
Individually.
So there's a person or team of people that will say, they see somebody says, oh, I'm thinking about going to New Orleans. Somebody's like, oh, you were thinking about going to New Orleans. Let me tell you.
We have a team of 3 people that are constantly actively engaging between the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We don't do it 24/7, but we certainly could, about conversations that are relating to New Orleans, and I would say probably 75% of those are conversations that they're not speaking to us at all. They're just asking about New Orleans, or they're asking about jazz, or they're asking about festivals.
But you use that as an opportunity to then engage them in a conversation.
Right.
And they don't feel like they're being stalked?
Oh, they love it. Like
That's
they're
so
like, oh my
wild.
gosh, New Orleans has reached out to me. Like,
I have
mean, that's
never
like the
been
coolest
approached
thing.
in that way, ever.
And we also handle Zatarain's social media. And so if people are talking about mustard, or they're talking about spices, or if they're talking about anything, we do something called surprise and delight. And we send them a sample. Hey, we would love to give you a sample of our Creole brown mustard. If you would like to direct message me your address, or if you can give me your email, I'll provide you with the information. And then boom, in the mail, we send them Creole mustard. And guess what? They become fans of Zatarain's. That's
Free
something
stuff definitely helps.
And I mean, that's not a very, I mean, some, you may not want to give a free album, but maybe a free song download or something, but something unexpected to them. And you're introducing, I think the big thing is, if people already know about you, you certainly want to engage with them, and you do want brand evangelists, for sure. But also, there's an enormous amount of people that may not know about you, but they might love you if they only could hear about you. So if you can listen to, have this monitoring, and you listen to these conversations about genres of music, or again, other bands that are very similar to who you are, and you can start to engage with them and introduce them, you may potentially just developed a new super fan, or you may have created a purchase of someone that may have never heard of you before.
Well, that's a really cool example. Can you all just kind of try to now bring that, not to call it, it's not an abstraction, but take that type of example and bring it back into the music world. So if you're an independent musician, how can I learn from what you do with Zatarain's, or for New Orleans Tourism Marketing, or for the other clients that you work with, and say, okay, I'm a band, how do I apply that rule or that tactic to my case? I need to get people to pay money to come see my show. I need to get people to pay money to download my new record, or whatever.
I mean, I think to go with what Alex said, I think if there were other bands that you thought that you were similar with, that would be a first great way to start, and to start monitoring those within Twitter and see what kind of feeds and what people are talking about. I think also if someone is very interested in jazz or blues, or again, whatever type of music it is, maybe it's bongos, you know, anything that relates specifically that is interesting and unique about you, that you think people could be having conversations about, whether it's a hashtag or even just a keyword, start monitoring those conversations. I think the most important thing in all of this is to first start by listening. Just listen. Don't start talking yet. Just listen and see what conversations are happening. Then analyze. What are they talking about? What are these other people doing? Why are they getting so much engagement? See what works for other people so that you can learn, because you can always learn from other people. And then develop a strategy based on what you see other people are doing. Start engaging in conversations with them, and then either have, you know, some giveaways. You know, I know that you don't always want to give product away, but maybe it's one download, or maybe inviting them to, hey, I see from your Twitter profile you are in Philadelphia. We're going to be in Philadelphia playing at this location. I'd love to meet you. And just provide some engagement.
I mean, it just happened to me the other day. We were talking, like, I was on Twitter talking about Jam Cruise and the bands that I wanted on Jam Cruise to be announced this year, which comes out next week. And, you know, so a fan engaged me of a different band. So it was a fan of the Heavy Pets, and they said, you forgot the Heavy Pets. The Heavy Pets is great on Twitter, I guess. So they're monitoring, you know, they're engaged with their Twitter fan base. They are monitoring the conversation. And they step in, and I say, well, I said, actually, that's a great suggestion, because I've never seen the Heavy Pets, and I'd always like to. The Heavy Pets write back, and they say, we're playing, you know, my music Twitter handle is NYC Music Lover, so they probably look through, or they could tell I'm from New York, whatever. So they say, we're playing Brooklyn Bowl. Funny that we're playing Brooklyn Bowl on Thursday. And truthfully, I was coming to here on Friday, so I couldn't go, but if I hadn't been coming here, most likely I really would have gone to see the Heavy Pets on Thursday. I had no idea they were playing, but they were really smart about monitoring conversations, listening, analyzing, and then stepping in when they saw a chance.
But wouldn't your first reaction be if the band directly tweets you and says, guess what, we're going to be in your town on Thursday? I mean, I would be like, you're contacting me? That means we're friends, so I can get on the guest list, right?
I wouldn't, but I wouldn't think that. I think if they were smarter about it, they should have said, you know, get 10 of your friends to come and we'll get you on the guest list. But then it becomes, it's number one, it's in a public environment, so that would only happen. I would only suggest doing that if you have each other, if you're following each other, so that you can then direct message. I wouldn't become salesy in that situation, but No,
certainly not on the first touch.
Exactly. Certainly not on the first touch.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the Heavy Pets won because I had no idea who they were before, and now we all do.
Right.
All right. Well,
No, but
there you
it's
go.
true, and I've never seen them. And the other thing I'm going to say though is,
It's a great band name, by the way.
For bands that are bigger, I think we're speaking a lot about, smaller bands that want grassroots marketing, and that's great. But there are also bigger bands that should be doing this as well. They're promoters, they're management companies, and they shouldn't be having to manually sort through Twitter. There are plenty of tools that would say, okay, hashtag funk. What are the other, first of all, who are the people talking about hashtag funk? Who are the people talking about hashtag JazzFest 2014? What else are they talking about in these tools? Wayin has a platform. We're expensive, so I'm not trying to pitch us. But there are less expensive, though, analytics companies that would say, hashtag 2014, what other topics are they talking about in addition if they're talking to JazzFest 2014? Who are the people talking about it? And you can identify in these analytics platforms right there, who are the most engaged, what are they talking about? You don't have to constantly be searching Twitter. So if you have money to spend and you really want to make an effort, which, if you're selling out, I sit in a music company's office space and they're trying to sell out Arcade Fire, and they're trying to figure out how do we market to them. And if they use these analytics tools to identify who are the most engaged Arcade Fire fans, maybe they could then use them to take it a step further and sell tickets for them.
Interesting. This is really cool. And by the way, I just want to say that compared to the panel that we had last year, this is way more down to earth. And so high five to y'all. Let's open it up for questions. So I know y'all have some, so come and use the microphones so we can, because you were all on TV. You didn't know that?
We have
I want to give 3 tools of that monitoring. I mean, hers is probably the best, but hers was expensive. There's one called Buffer.
Sorry?
Buffer. Hootsuite.
Yeah, these are tools to put out your social media, and they are free.
And
they
Sprout
have
Social.
analytics.
Those 3 are all very inexpensive, great analytics.
Buffer.
Hootsuite, Sprout Social.
And I just want to say while we're waiting for the questioners, this all seems like if you're an independent artist, an independent musician, and you don't have a team of people to be monitoring this stuff between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., it sounds like a really good thing that you could be doing that's productive when you're procrastinating on social media.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like how many hours a day do you waste, just trolling through this stuff? But this is a way that you could feel like you're wasting your time, but also feel like you're still actually doing something to help your career.
Picture, totally.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
You were talking about the links and being able to track clicks and count them. Does it give you the specific name of the person in sight or just the quantity?
We're not the NSA, so.
It sounded very Big Brother, so I was like, wait a minute.
No, it won't give you the name of the person, just the number of clicks, and then if it is the Eventbrite link, like how much was purchased.
Okay, good.
On Google Analytics, it will give you the geography, though. Yeah. So if you're doing something nationwide, for example, and you want to send a link out, you can go into the geo-targeting within Google Analytics of that link, and it will tell you if they were in Houston, New Orleans, Atlanta, and if you have something that's national and you might not realize that there's a big population in Indianapolis that love your type of music, it might be an opportunity to think about, hey, maybe we should do a show there. So you can see geographically where these people are, which can be very helpful in targeting.
Thank you.
Hi, Kimball Packard, Sound Advice Management. A couple of questions on the on engaging fans, both on Twitter and Facebook. Is the number of people that actually see the posts? I post, we post things on our fan page, and then I look, and it doesn't seem to even matter what time of day we post or anything. Everybody says post at 10 o'clock. I'll post something about a show, and then I'll look at the number of people who actually saw the post, and out of 3,000 people, maybe 250 saw it or something, and Facebook encourages me to boost my post, of course, and I don't know how effective that is. Right, for a fee. And then the other thing is with Twitter, we actually had started a similar idea of following people who like other bands and everything, and we got to a point with one of the accounts where we had 2,000, and that's the limit that Twitter will allow you to follow now unless you have more than 2,000 followers yourself. So it kind of cut that idea short because they don't also want you switching people in and out and following people and then unfollowing them so you can direct message other people. So that was a limitation that we ran into on that as well. So just comments on those two things in general. And then when we tweet things, how many people actually see them as well?
I mean, my feeling is that, Twitter and Facebook are a good way to drive people to another area. So I wouldn't, if it were me, I wouldn't be focused on engaging and using those platforms for your brand message. I would focus on getting those people to your site and creating an engaging experience on your site.
What we're trying to do is convert them to our mailing list and everything, because that's the only way. Because Facebook could go away tomorrow, or they could change the rules again.
Well, let me show you. Can I show that example?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was.
So this is a bigger example of something that we implemented. It was for Access TV, who is filming and broadcasting Coachella, Stagecoach, and Jazz Fest. And at the end of the day, their goal is to get people to download, and watch the recordings, as well as, though, to collect information. So granted, they have money to spend to drive traffic, but truthfully, if you use the right analytics and you download a CSV of the Twitter followers that are most engaged in these topics, you can do a more engaging experience on your own site. So you should make sure when you get them to your site, you have to sell them first. Like, you can't just hit them and say, I want you to put your information in a mailing list. You have to create a community for them. So this is essentially, we created a community for the Access TV example that is, this one's Stagecoach, because that's what's going on right now. They sold it to Toyota, but they're bringing in social content. They're bringing in their own content. If you scroll down, you can see it's people that are tweeting about Stagecoach. And then tweets from the fans, but then sign up to win something. They're right here. This is how they collect information, but they're giving away something to get people to that mailing list, which is the most crucial step. Like, no one's going to sign up for your mailing list unless they know they're getting access to tickets early, they're getting discounts on tickets. And then maybe scroll down a little bit more. Let's see.
Wait,
and then
I have a question.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got your social media links:
Yep.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email, sign up to win. What is the advantage? This is just an indication of how dumb I am. What's the advantage of somebody clicking on the Facebook or the Twitter right here?
For them, it's to just drive more awareness to get people to share it. So probably if you click on that Facebook link, it's going to broadcast this page to your to this person's social media followers. So it's helping.
But I'm not going to click on that unless I'm a super fan.
Exactly.
And I want to tell everybody that I just bought tickets to Stagecoach.
I would click on this because, you know what? The last time they did this example, we did it for them. Honestly, I just started the company. I didn't win this because I was a Wayin employee. I didn't even know it was a Wayin example, truthfully. They said it was at the Super Bowl, there were so many music events at the Super Bowl. Which music event do you most want to see? And, they had sponsored all these concerts, and I said, Tedeschi Trucks. I ended up winning Tedeschi Trucks tickets at a tiny little venue. So as soon as I won those tickets, I shared to Facebook and said, oh my God, I just won Tedeschi Trucks tickets. Come in and look at this. So you'll see they're doing it again if you scroll down. They're saying they're interacting. They're creating interacting. Which vocalist gives you
the vapors?
The vapors. I don't know what that means. But
it means it makes you a little lightheaded.
Which group do you most want to see it? But they're engaging with these people. And what they're doing is collecting information about who they like, what they're fans of. But at the end of the day, they're rewarding them for signing up.
And if I'm a band, what can I learn from these examples if I have a band?
Ask questions.
Ask questions.
They're all questions.
So on my website, on my Twitter feed, on my Facebook page, I'm going to constantly be saying, of the 5 songs on this playlist with my Spotify embed right here, which ones do you like the best? Which are the ones that should be on my next album?
But you should get them to this page. You should create your websites as fan pages that are engaging experience so that you can get more information from those users. You can talk to them more. You don't have to rely on Facebook and Twitter, and they're great. I love them. They have so much value, but at the end of the day, they're platforms for advertising, and they're going to start charging you to engage with your own customers. So take that experience back to yourself and create an engaging experience on your own environment.
Just to kind of answer that question about the Facebook that you might have into that. You might have 10,000 fans, and you post something and it goes to 170 people. It was shown to 170 people, and you're like, oh my God, like all these people have asked to follow me, but we're not showing to these people. This is something in Facebook called edge rank, and to go back to everything that we have said today, the more engaged you have, the more engagement that you have on that post. So the perfect example is a question. People will like that or comment on that or share that. The more likes, comments, and shares that you have on each individual post on your Facebook page is what determines your edge rank. So if you continually have posts that are engaged with, your edge rank will go up. If your edge rank goes up, you will show to a higher percentage of the people that are fans of your page.
Your edge rank.
Your edge rank.
I've never heard of that before.
You can look it up, Facebook edge rank. So if you have posts that are not getting responded to, that basically Facebook says, oh yeah, you can pay to promote this because your content's really not that great and no one cares about what you're saying, so I'm not going to show it to everybody. But if your post gets comments and gets shares and gets likes, they think, hey, this is pretty good content, and they're willing, God willing, to show to more of your actual fans of your page.
That sounds like with YouTube, when you get up to X number of hits on a video, they suddenly send you an email saying, hey, would you like us to put ads against your video, kind of thing.
So it's very important. It's not about quantity. It's the quality of what you post. So make sure you are putting things out there that are relevant to your audience, that you are speaking to them the way that they want to be spoken to. And to go back to what Alex said, questions are fabulous for this because you're asking for them to engage with you. And if they engage with you, your Facebook has a higher ability to show to your fans.
Quick note on quantity. Can I ask you a question? Quick note on quantity, though, because there are people that think that if I post 500 Twitter posts in the next hour, anybody who logs onto Twitter is going to see nothing but me and me and me and me and me. Is that not a good strategy?
They're going to default. They're going to unfollow you. That's the worst.
So
I think you can be a lot more active on Twitter than you can on Facebook. Like on Facebook, I would not update status more than probably twice a day because we start seeing lower edge rank, and make sure that those posts are really good and high quality. On Twitter, I think you can do a lot more on Twitter. I think you can probably, and particularly if you're talking to people, and it doesn't have to be a direct message, you can use their handle, and you're having conversations with people, and people can see those conversations. But again, make it quality content. If you're just saying the same thing over and over again, and you don't have anything to say that's different, you're out.
One quick thing I was just going to say about sharing, and I actually worked for this company, and I'm not trying to intentionally plug them, but it's free, is Share This has sharing tools. Like we saw those social media buttons up above, and right there that share and tweet.
Where are we?
If you use Share This or a company called Add This, those, you can either sign up for those directly with Twitter and Facebook, or you can use a company like Share This or Add This, which are free for publishers. The benefit of using those are that they actually give you analytics on the background, so they'll not only show you what they're sharing on your own site, but they'll show you what those users are sharing elsewhere. So that's really helpful and beneficial and free. So I'd suggest using a
and you can just get those from Facebook and Twitter?
Well, you can either do it through Facebook and Twitter, but then you're looking at two different analytics platforms. I would suggest doing it like Share This or Add This because it's an aggregate and it's easier.
Share This.
Share This,
Right,
or Add This, either one.
Which is the company, Share This
right.
is where you used to work, right? Okay. Ma'am, I'm sorry, you had a question and we got busy talking up here. Anybody
This is
else have
all
any questions?
very interesting. Thank you all for being here. My question is actually for McKenzie. You mentioned that when you're doing analytics about or just monitoring New Orleans conversations, I'm curious to know what 3 topics are they generally talking about? Is it music? Is it food? Or I'd like to know.
Definitely music and food are probably the two largest things that we see, and then things to do. People love lists, like what are the top 5 things to do, top 10 things to do, but things to do when I'm in New Orleans. I'm looking for something to do when I'm in New Orleans. Those are definitely, and then music and food. And we see that over and over and over again. But just because you start in a conversation like that, you can monitor those. You can still make any type of a conversation once you answer that first initial question.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, guys. Can you guys talk a little bit about pictures? Both Facebook and Twitter have made a lot of changes that kind of highlight visual content.
Now,
All right, yeah.
Go ahead,
Sure.
but I was just going to say that we see in what we do at work at the Jazz and Heritage Foundation that if we post stuff on Facebook, not just a text post, but a caption on a photo, people just
Yeah.
respond so much more.
Yeah.
So thank you, Chris Schultz from Launchfest, for that question.
Proof is in the pudding. As Scott said, it works. Basically, people like pictures. It's what we respond to better. There's a really useful tool out there called Canva, CANVA.com, and you just upload a photo, and it's super, super simple to use. It's free, and you can choose, how sometimes the sizing of photos is off and weird. Everything's done for you. You can put, you can make memes or basically just create these photos that look good and that are super easily postable to either Twitter or Facebook. When you post to either Twitter or Facebook, you have to download the photo to your computer, and hopefully they might have a workaround for this, which I would love to hear about. But you have to download the photo to your computer and then upload it to either of those things. It takes you an extra 15 seconds, but the amount of sharing and comments around that photo will increase exponentially. So yes, share photos.
So photos.
Yes.
Always photos.
For all of our content that's coming out of New Orleans, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter, if it's not that we're responding to someone, but our original content, every single post that we have has a picture in it, because we have so much more engagement with that. Like a lovely day in New Orleans, and it's really, people respond a lot better to images than words. And a picture is worth 1,000 words, isn't that a little saying? So there's a lot that you can express within the photos. So we do respond without pictures frequently when we're engaging in conversation with someone, but for all of the content that we're publishing and developing for New Orleans, because of the high level of engagement, I think photos are almost essential.
Great. Okay, last question, then we got to go.
Really quick, obviously when you post, you release a new album, a new song, if you use Bandcamp.com, they have really good data, analysts, anyways. So you can see when you release something, put it up on your Facebook page, how many people visit your Bandcamp site, download your album. But what about, content is the most important thing, but what about when you've released your album, it's been a month? How do you get people that maybe didn't buy it, but you want them to revisit it, or new people that haven't heard of you? You know what I'm saying? How do you get them to go back when you don't have new, anyways, that's my question.
I would say, that's a great question. I would say, find the people, as we've talked about, find the people that you think would be good fits for, to buy that album or to be a fan of the band, and then look for opportunities in the conversation to reach out to them and say, do you want to download, we're going to download this single for free. Tedeschi Trucks does that a lot, where they'll download a single for free, and they'll promote it to their fan page on Facebook. But I think if you don't have the fans, the important thing is to find the fans. The other thing is Lettuce, the band, just offered people the ability to download their entire catalog for 24 hours, which, was a very generous thing. But I think more importantly, right before they did a tour was key, because that spread like wildfire within that fan base. So, even if you weren't on the Lettuce fan group, I saw probably 100 posts from people talking about for 24 hours. So, you could do that where maybe even it's just for 24 hours, download the album for free, to then spread the word organically.
That gives it a new twist, what in journalism we used to call a fresh lead, and top the story with something new.
And I would say for everything that you're doing, before you release that, develop a strategy, so that it isn't something like a month later you're like, oh, what now? Think of something and how to make this have a 90-day shelf life, and how to do little tiny things here and there that are that kind of surprise and delight thing, that's something that's a strategy behind that will continue to do that. And I don't have the answer right now on the spot, but I think coming up with something so that you can continue to promote that and promote that album, and that it does make it fresh and it is unique and it's not the same message over and over again, but think about that before you put the first message out so that you have a plan in place.
All right, well, we need to wrap this up. So could I just ask each of you to just give your top takeaway? You're a musician, an independent artist, trying to figure out how to get these people that you have somehow successfully managed to like you on Facebook or follow you on Twitter, to get them to buy a ticket to your show, buy your CD, whatever. Just top takeaways.
I'd say be human, and
as opposed to a bot, you mean?
Yeah, or as opposed to, if you're going to have, well, number one, I think the artists should be doing this themselves to create their own social media profile and persona. It's who they are. They don't have to create a persona.
So be yourself.
Be yourself.
Put yourself,
be yourself
out there.
Be yourself. If you're representing an artist and they're just not going to go on Facebook and Twitter, maybe just either don't do it or find someone that loves this band so much that they really can speak on behalf. But be yourself and adopt your fans and potential fans as part of your social community. That'll work.
Be yourself. I like it.
Ask questions.
Okay, that's the engaging part. McKenzie?
What else can I say to that? Just remember that this is
you can say it again. It's okay.
I mean, I completely agree with them, but just remember that this is a community, and this is a virtual community, and it's like, you can't have them in your living room, or they can't be at every concert, but this is a community of people that want to support you and want to see you succeed, and leverage them when possible, for sure. And if you need help, ask for help, and if there's an opportunity that someone brings to you, or if there's something that you want people to spread the word on, remember this is a community of supporters that you have in your social networks, and lean on them, because they ultimately are going to be what's going to continue to help grow that community larger.
How about it for our panel? Julie Greenhouse from Wayin, Alex B. from Voodoo Ventures, and McKenzie Coco from FSC Interactive. Arthur, did you want to say something?
I want to thank you, Scott, because I think you've done a great job.
Thank you, Arthur.
You've made Sync Up something special.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much. A lot of love in the room, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys, thanks. That was great. That was fantastic. Appreciate it. That was awesome. I really appreciate that. Great. Thank you. Great. All right, so we'll be right back with Ken Weinstein from Big Hassle Media. Don't go away.